Thank you so much for tuning into the Believe in Bears podcast. As always, it is your boy Sky Cruz, and today I'm joined by my guy Clay Harbor, 9-year NFL vet and now NFL analyst. What's up, Clay? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Beautiful day here in Chicago. Looks like some clouds rolling in, but good. The Bears finally ended OTAs, mini camps, and now we got a little bit of a break. But as you'll see, there's still a lot of stuff to talk about, Sky.
Yeah, always. Yeah, so for the first time in, I think, recent memory, the Bears did their own little rookie walkthrough before this short little break before training camp leading up. Do teams most of the time do that, or do you think it's just because the Bears have a rookie quarterback and they just want to make sure he's prepped going into camp?
Back in the day, I know once again I sound like a grandpa telling war stories. Back in my day, but back in the day, the whole team was there for all the OTAs and all the mini camps. But now, you can give the veterans a little time with their family before training camp, before the real grind starts. But you have so many rookies that are going to play an important piece this year that you want to get that extra work in. Extra work for Caleb learning the playbook, extra work for Rome in the route tree, learning the playbook. So I think, yes, most teams probably would do that, but I think it's more important for the Bears because they do have these rookies that are going to be playing such a big role. I mean, it's not often that you have the number 1 overall pick, much less 2 top 10 draft picks that are going to play a big role in your offense this year. So I think it's really important. They still got out there, got the mental work done. And honestly, the mental aspect of it is going to be just as important as the physical side. So they got some good work in there, another solid couple of days. And then now it's not an off time. Now you got to go back. You got to make sure your body's right, maybe get away, rest a little bit, but you still got to keep that mental grind up. So you come to training camp and the offense is second nature.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the mental part of the game because one of the reports coming out of camp was Caleb Williams struggling a little bit with the cadence. Is that a normal thing? Because I know these guys coming from college to the pro level, a hand signal can mean a play, but when you go into the NFL, every play call seems like it's 2 to 3 sentences long. So is it normal for rookies to come in and usually struggle with that type of thing?
Man, the verbiage is a lot. Usually in college, when I came in, I would look to the play call. They'd give us a signal, and you get the signal, and the signal was your play, and that's all you had. You took the signal, okay, it's Ohio, and Ohio is a certain route, protection, everything. Come to the NFL, this is some long verbiage because you're basically tagging a lot of the routes to get the specific look you want against the defense you think you're going to get. So that's difficult to take that play call in, and now you have to work on the cadence. And obviously you're switching things up a little more than you did in college because these guys are professionals. They're looking for anything they can do during the week. The cadence, their sound is out there on TV, so you got to switch it up. You'll have a first sound. You'll have a second color. You'll have a on 1 and on 2 and on 3. You'll have a double count. And then the thing that tripped me up coming in is the silent count stuff, which you got to work on because most of your away games in the NFC North are all together are going to be silent count. And that's based off a head movement, right? You do a head bob, silent 1, 2, 3. You do a couple head bobs, maybe you reset. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. It's not just picking up a cadence. And a normal cadence like green 80, set hut. So it sounds something like that. You say a color number, and then set hut. If it's on 2, hut. If it's on 3, obviously hut. Then you have a double count. You go through the whole cadence. You do it again. First sound, second color, first color. You switch it all up. So it's not just like he's going in there trying to learn one thing. There's a lot that goes into a cadence, and it's going to take a little bit for him to understand that.
Yeah, I kind of figured those were necessary speed bumps that he had to go through, just like every rookie quarterback has to go through. And Caleb mentioned in his presser yesterday that, he's going to be working out with the likes of Anthony Richardson, Brock Purdy, with his coach, Will Hewitt. Is it normal for, guys to link with other professionals on other teams, or is it more normal for them to do their own thing and just come back to camp just ready to go on their own?
I've been around both. Some guys, like for me, later in my career, I ended up going to Exos in Phoenix. It's a chance to get away, to train with some other NFL players, to train with a bunch of different guys. You can actually run drills and stuff. But for a number of years, I trained local to Chicago. I found a good training facility. And there's something to be said for each thing, because I feel like when you're training on your own, you feel like you're really outworking the rest of the guys because you're training on your own, you're pushing yourself, you're doing things that they're not doing. When you're training with the guys, good to build that camaraderie. You get to learn more from other guys, but a lot of times it's not the most strenuous work, which is fine. You can obviously go and do extra, but it's more about the camaraderie, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. So you get a little bit of both with that. And this offseason is interesting. And it's an important time, Sky. I'll tell you a quick story. In the offseason, most quarterbacks in teams will link up for a weekend or something like that to where they go and throw. So Caleb will call up Keenan, Rome, DJ, Dante Pettis, Velas, and they'll go throw somewhere. And in Jacksonville, when I was with the Jaguars, I did that with Blake Bortles. We had 3 days scheduled. We only ended up doing 2, and one of them was only a half day. And that's because we were super unorganized. Blake was supposed to set it up, Blake Bortles. I love Blake. I'm not trying to trash Blake, but he was unorganized. He was young. He didn't understand what he was doing yet. And one night he went out, got a little banged up out at night at the bars or whatever, and we canceled one completely. Okay. That year we ended up winning 4 games. A couple years later, I'm on the Saints. I end up getting injured early in the year, but during that preseason, same thing. Drew invites the receivers out for one weekend, the tight ends out for one weekend, the running back out for one weekend. When I got invited with the tight end, it was only me and Kobe Fleener, the only tight ends he invited out. He flew us out first class, put us up in a 5-star hotel, picked us up every morning at 6 in the morning, took us to the field, had a specific list of routes to run. Right after we had done running routes, he took us his training facility where he paid for our training. He paid for us to get a massage and then dropped us back off to the airport when it was time for us to leave. That year with the Saints, we ended up making the NFC Championship game. It was that infamous pass interference call on Tommy Lee Lewis, where we didn't make the Super Bowl, and obviously as an IR at that point. But you see the difference there, Sky. The guy, Blake Bortles, Jaguars, we won 12 games in 3 years. Okay, the Saints won 12 games that year, and it comes down to, a lot of it does, the stuff you do in the offseason. So every player that Drew flies out there, all that matters. So I'm hearing reports that Caleb is inviting some of these guys out. They're going to get together. That's huge. So that's something that I think separates the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks. And that's something that Drew Brees did and Blake Bortles did.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, I think that's the big difference. I feel like almost the time away from the facility is more important because, you're on your own. It's up to you to put in the work and make the necessary training adjustments that you have to going into training camp. So this next couple of weeks off is going to be huge for Caleb and the guys. But I'm glad you brought up Keenan because recently he switched agents. I want to know, just from an NFL player standpoint, since you have experience going through that, like, is that a tall tale sign that you think he wants to try to get paid in the offseason, or do you think he wants to try to work something out with the Bears, or what do you think the meaning is behind that?
Trust me, all guys want to get paid in the offseason. Yeah. They're about that bread. And Keenan left the Chargers for that reason, because he wasn't going to take a pay cut when he was one of the best receivers in the league last year. That didn't even make sense. And I feel him on that. If he underperformed his contract, maybe he thinks about it, but he didn't. He still maybe only played in 13 games. They were worried he wasn't staying healthy the whole season, but no, he's still one of the top receivers in the league. To me, it doesn't change anything. Obviously, yes, it shows he wants to get paid and he's really serious about getting paid, and he wants an agent that he thinks can maximize this wide receiver market that we've seen absolutely explode, and he wants it. He wants that money. And that's something that's very important to him, is his financial stability and setting up his family for the long term and getting paid what he wants to get paid. So for the Bears, you got to realize this guy's serious. This guy's serious about money and getting paid and setting up his family, as really should be. He wants to get paid what he's worth. And the Bears are in a situation, obviously, you got a rookie quarterback. If Caleb plays well, it allows you to invest in these other positions. I think they can keep him. You got Rome and Caleb on rookie deals. But then you got to pay DJ too, who I think is more of a long-term piece. It depends what the market is for Keenan coming out there. If you can get him at a short-term deal that when DJ and Rome come up for a re-signing, that maybe then you can let Keenan go without much of a cap hit, be all for signing him. But that does show you that Keenan, it's very important to him. Yeah. Getting paid what he is worth is very important to him. Elsewise, he would have stayed with his agent. And maybe you could take a couple million less if you don't think this guy's doing the best job you can. But for him, that means a lot.
Yeah, I think an interesting scenario that could play out is what if Keenan Allen, leads all the categories for the Bears in receiving? I wonder if that would entice Ryan Poles to, maybe pay him more than he wanted to, because it seems like him and Caleb are already gelling, which is good, but that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do want to talk about another receiver, Rome Odunze. This dude is great behind the mic. Every time, he's in these interviewers or these pressers, it always seems like he has a sound bite that everybody loves. And the most recent soundbite, I'm sure you saw it, was, they asked him about the rookie records in the NFL and that the Bears hold. He said he's absolutely chasing Puka Nakua's record and the Bears single season records. And I want to list off some of these rookie records that the Bears have as far as receiving goes. Matt Forte had 63 receptions as a rookie. That leads the franchise. Harlan Hill had 1,124 yards and 12 touchdowns as a rookie. So I want to know 63 receptions, 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. Which is most likely for Rome Odunze to break rookie year?
I would say the most likely record for him to break would be the 63 catches. Yeah. Honestly, it's going to be a tall task. I mean, 1,100 yards is possible, but it depends, man. If Keenan and DJ stay healthy the whole year, he's going to be the third option. There's no way he's not going to be the third option, even if he outplays one of those two guys. Those two guys have been mainstays, have been key cogs on offenses their entire career. DJ Moore has shown he is literally quarterback proof. You've seen him. He's played with PJ Walker. Last year with Justin Fields, he had 1,300 yards. I mean, this guy can play. Keenan Allen, one of the best receivers in the league, top 10 in yards and receptions, and he missed 4 games. So he is not going to come in and be the first or second option. He's going to have to do all this being the third option. If one of them get hurt, Keenan or DJ, and Rome stays healthy, and now he's the second option, I could see it happening. But if everybody's healthy, you throw in Kmet, you throw in Everett, you throw in DeAndre Swift, I don't see a chance that he can break some of these records just because there's one football. And you are not going to be forcing the ball to just him. He is splitting time with these two other receivers. I think he's going to be great. I love what he's shown in OTAs and watching him in the combine and watching him last year. He put in these high leverage games, played in the national championship game, in the playoffs, whenever they needed a big play. Who'd they go to? Rome Odunze. Yep. That shows me there's no moment's going to be too big for him, but he's a rookie. You're coming in with a 12-year vet and a 5-year vet that have had 1,000 yards for I don't know how many years. So unfortunately for him, he's going to be the third receiver, but I still think he's going to have a big impact, but I don't think he's going to get these records.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And honestly, I think Rome Odunze is one of the biggest insurance plans on this team, just in case something does happen to DJ or Keenan Allen. And a big topic of discussion lately regarding Rome Odunze is him being back there for punt returns. I'm a little skeptical of it just because of what you listed, just in case something does happen to DJ Moore or Keenan Allen. So it seems like there is an open competition at punt returner for the Bears with newly signed DeAndre Carter, Velus Jones, and Rome Odunze. What are your thoughts on Rome Odunze possibly returning punts for the Bears?
I don't think that's his thing. Okay, yeah. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. I'm sorry, but that's not the build of a punt returner. I think, yeah, he's a third receiver. Let's figure something out there. But a punt returner is a guy that is going to be shifty, can catch the ball, can make quick moves, and Rome can run after the catch, but that's not his forte. You turn on his tape, he is not making these crazy plays after the catch. He's a big body that can go up and make contested catches. He can do a little bit of that run after catch, but that's not his forte. Yeah, it sounds good. Rome Odunze is our punt returner. No, that's not his game. DeAndre Carter, a guy that I've played with in the past. You got Velus Jones. Obviously, can he catch the football? And then Dante Pettis, a guy that's shown he can do it. He can catch it. He's okay. He's, I think Pettis, Carter, Velus Jones, to me, you've seen too much of Velus Jones dropping balls. And I don't care if he catches every ball in training camp. It just takes one. And he lost you a few games in his career already just off of not catching the football. And if you put him back there, that's not on Velus Jones anymore. That's on the offense or the special teams coach. It's on Matt Eberflus for letting him do it. And then it's on Ryan Poles for keeping him on the team to do this when that's not what he can show he can do. Let him do kickoffs, a little bit more time, a little bit more space, not as high leverage of a position to be in to catch these balls. When these defenses running at you, you got to catch it. So for me, Velus Jones, kick returner, if he makes the roster, Pettis or Carter, whoever you keep there as your punt returner.
Yeah, I think people are kind of falling in love with the idea because Rome has said multiple times that Devin Hester is his favorite player. So it's naturally, people just want to see him back there because his love for Devin Hester. But I'm glad that you brought up that you used to play with DeAndre Carter, because the Bears also signed another player that you're pretty familiar with, Mercedes Lewis. And I just want you to tell our listeners about your time with him, how he is as a teammate, and what do you think he can add to the Bears this upcoming season?
Man, I played 3 years with Mercedes. We're in the same tight end room. He's one of my favorite players. We went through a lot together there in Jacksonville, but unbelievable guy. He has a great routine. He was one of the guys that helped me build my routine. And for young players, a routine is everything. And he's a guy that really reinforced that. And he was already old when I was there in Jacksonville in 2016, 2017, 2015, 2016, excuse me. And now he's just ancient in football terms. But great teammate. He's a guy that's smart. The biggest thing he's going to bring for you is he can play offensive tackle. If Mercedes wanted to, he could play offensive tackle in the league. This guy is such a good blocker, pass protection. He's so long. He's strong. He's great in the run game, but a really good pass protector. So what that does for you, if Darnell Wright has a tough assignment, Braxton Jones has a tough assignment, you basically have another offensive tackle that can catch checkdowns on the roster with you. Honestly, if one of those guys get hurt and you needed a guy to fill in at tackle, like Mercedes could do that. That's how good he is at blocking, and you wouldn't really lose much because he's that good. And the thing that you see in Mercedes, he's a guy that trains MMA training. He doesn't lift weights. He's an MMA trainer, so that's why he's so flexible. He's been able to keep his body. He spars. He's got great leverage. He's got good technique, and he's a guy that's going to really help you in the run game, in the pass game, but also he's a guy that's going to help these young rookies develop their routine and become a better player just because he's so smart. He's seen so many things.
Yeah, I know a lot of love is going to the receiving room and the corner room, respectively. But, this tight end room is looking pretty nice, too, with the additions they made this offseason. But, an older guy like that coming into a team with a rookie quarterback, how do you see that dynamic playing out? Do you think it's a lot harder for them to find like a young guy like Caleb Williams in a leadership role? Because Mercedes Lewis is pretty much like 40 years old and Caleb is 22. When Mercedes Lewis got drafted, Caleb Williams was 4 years old, which is crazy to think about. So do you think it's tough for rookie quarterbacks to gain leadership over vet players such like Mercedes Lewis?
He's going to have to earn it. Mercedes ain't going to follow some guy that ain't putting in the work. And it's crazy to think that Mercedes' daughter is probably about the same age as Caleb Williams now. Because I remember his daughter back when I was playing. I'm like, man, they're honestly about the same age. He's a kid the age of Caleb Williams. But Mercedes is a guy that you have to earn his respect. Honestly, the first year I was there, me and Mercedes weren't that tight the first year. But then he saw how I worked, and me and him were on the field together. He saw what I was able to bring to the team. I was always in there on the off days like he was, putting in the work, getting in the extra film. Then we became best friends. That was my best friend on the team when I was on Jacksonville, me, Mercedes, and Julius Thomas. Always hang out. We loved the great tight end room. Loved those guys. And we all did different things. I was more the move guy, the fullback. Julius caught all the passes, did all the pretty stuff. And then Mercedes was doing the inline stuff, blocking on the pass game and the run game. But if Caleb comes out there, earns respect, Mercedes and those guys will follow him. And plus, Mercedes is from LA. Caleb played at USC. So I think they'll have that to connect over. And Mercedes is just a guy that loves mentoring. He loves mentoring young guys, and he's been around it. He's played with Aaron Rodgers. He's played with a bunch of big-time quarterbacks. So I think that'll be really good for not only the tight end room, but also the receivers and also the quarterback.
Yeah, so I want to get into this preseason coming up. And, there's been a lot of questions on how much time Caleb Williams should play. Matt Eberflus, when he was asked about it, he used last year as a reference. He said CJ, Bryce, and Anthony Richardson all got 45 to 65 reps last year, and that'd be a good amount for Caleb. What's your stance on that? Because honestly, I'm kind of torn in the middle. I want this guy to get as many reps as he can going into the season, just so a lot of different looks and get some more experience before heading into this long season. But at the same time, I'm kind of, that risk factor. I don't want anything to happen to him, because if something does, God forbid, happen to Caleb, this season's going to be chalked in my eyes. So where do you stand on that? Do you like, bigger players to play more in the preseason, or would you rather them take a step back, get a couple of reps here and there? Because Shane Waldron last year with Geno Smith only played one game in the preseason. He only threw 5 passes. So I'm trying to figure out, which way they're going to go with that. But what are your thoughts on it?
I'm pretty old school on this guy, and I know most of the coaches don't feel me on the way I think about this. But young guys, you need to be playing. The first game of the year counts the same as the last game of the year. You need to be ready to go, and you can't be worried about an injury. If you're a young player, if you're a rookie, I want you to take reps. I'm not saying play the whole game, but he should be playing the first 3 games, the first half of each game, in my opinion. And then maybe you sit him out the last game and let him rest up and get ready for the season. But you saw last year how the Bears started. If you're a young player, Rome, Caleb, okay, you need to be playing. If you're a veteran guy, that Mercedes Lewis, let Mercedes stay in his sweatpants. He's done this before. He's got so much experience to draw off of. He's been in these stadiums. He's played against this level of competition. He's been on the field. His routine is perfect. He knows exactly what to do in pregame warmups. He knows exactly what to do when you go back in the field, go back in the locker room after the warmups right before the national anthem. He knows this mental checklist. He has everything down. Caleb doesn't. Bring him out there. Let him get his mind right. Figure out his routine, the way his mindset when he's coming into the game. Let these guys play. The young 22, 23-year-olds, let them play. Get them ready. That first game matters the same as the last game. If you're planning on being successful, you got to get these guys ready, and you're giving a blessing and not in disguise, just a blessing, not even in disguise, to have an extra preseason game. So my thing is, why don't you use it? Let them play. I know I'm a little old school on this, but I wouldn't take what other rookies did last year. No, let them play. Let them figure this thing out so they come into the season hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way I'm leaning too, is I just want these guys to be as prepared as possible come week 1 when they face the Titans. But, there's 2 things I wanted to ask you about because I haven't got the chance to talk to you since this news broke. But Hard Knocks, what's your take on Hard Knocks as a former player? Because the inner fan in me, now that I cover the team, it's super exciting. I can't wait, but I feel like players have a different perspective on that. So if your team was going to be on Hard Knocks, how would you feel about it? Would you be excited, or what can they expect going in?
Well, back in the day, I feel like it was a little bit different. There wasn't social media world. I had a private Instagram account with 2,000 followers. It was a different world. But back then, you're really getting a look inside the team. But now there's so many cameras around everywhere you go. I don't think it's going to be as big of a change. And you got guys like Caleb Williams, who's literally grown up in the spotlight and is used to it. So I don't think it's going to affect the team. These guys are used to that. A lot of these players are guys, high-profile guys now. But I think it's cool to give them a chance to get some notoriety. Some of these guys can build their brands. You see Caleb Williams. He's coming up with a wealth management company, investing in VC, venture capitalists, real estate, all different kinds of stocks, whatever. These guys are building a brand, and this is a great opportunity for the fans to get an inside look of what it looks like for their favorite team. So I'm happy about it. I think it's great. Chicago's going to love to get a look at how Caleb is doing during camp. Rome, you got all these guys that people want to see what's going on. Obviously, Eberflus will be a good opportunity for him. People talk about his culture, how they love the culture. To show this culture, instead of us just hearing about it and not getting an inside look in that locker room, I've been around a bunch of different cultures, and I think more than one culture can work. I've been in a culture with Gus Bradley, who I thought was amazing, but the guys just didn't have the discipline to use and to win with that culture, giving you a lot of free time, space, on your own. I've been with the New England Patriots. It's all about accountability. Do your job. If you don't, this is a train, and either getting on. If you can't get on, you are off. So it's going to be interesting to see the culture, but I think it's a great opportunity for the city of Chicago, for the Bears players, and for the team to really show themselves what kind of culture they got, and obviously for the fans to see inside of all that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the behind the scenes type of things. And it's a part of football history that not every team gets to be a part of, which is pretty cool. And something that's going to be featured on Hard Knocks, this is joint practice with the Bengals. I want to know what's like the intensity level in joint practices, because I feel like that's a great team to be paired up with, the strengths on their team, factor in the strengths of our team. So it's going to be really good to see those guys compete. But what are your thoughts on joint practices, and what are some matchups you're looking forward to between the 2 teams?
Oh, I loved joint practices. You get so used to beating up on the same guys week in and week out. You're playing against the same defense, the same schemes. Now you get to face a different scheme, different defense. As a tight end, now I get to face a guy that's got different pass rush moves. I know what moves this guy's going to bring. He knows my style of blocking. Now we get to switch it up a little bit. Now if we got a hit, we can maybe a crack back. I'm going to take that crack back that I wasn't going to do with my teammate. You get a chance to play with your team now instead of it's you versus defense. Offense, you're going out there. All training camp, the defense is the enemy. You want to beat the defense, beat the defense. Now you're a team, you're a group. It's your team versus their team. Your offense versus their defense. Your defense versus their offense. So it's more of a team bonding thing. Is that a home game or a away game, Sky? Is that going to be here?
Home. Yeah, so they're coming to Hallis Hall.
Oh, yeah, they're coming to Hallis Hall. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, you get to see a guy like Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and you get to see how our receiver core stacks up against theirs. You get to see how Caleb stacks up against Joe Burrow. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a veteran, but I think you're going to see a lot of similarities there with the way they can throw the ball. So it's exciting. I always love the joint practices. And for a player like me, who I always knew I wasn't going to be a guy that was not going to get the huge contracts. I was going to be a guy that probably fight to make some rosters. I get to show my stuff in front of a whole new team. They get to see me in practice. They get to see what I can do. So I'm blocking extra hard. I'm making extra plays against the receivers. Obviously, I'm going 100% all the time, but it's just a cool opportunity to show your stuff, to put it on film. Now another team has that film, and they can see the stuff you can do. And what you see is a lot of these games, these teams that have joint practices, the teams that they play against, they will claim some of the guys off of waivers if they have that good waiver position because they saw what they were able to do in preseason and really saw what kind of player they were.
Yeah, I think that's such an underrated factor too. You know, you get to see some players that, you know, might get cut or waived, and that's a chance for your team to make an opportunity and get them a part of your team if you think they fit your culture and your style of play. But Clay, I know you're a busy guy, man. Thank you for joining me this week. And, you know, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow this podcast, send it all to your friends. Follow my guy Clay Harbor on Twitter at ClayHarbs82. Follow me on Twitter at CruzSports_. But Clay, thanks, man. Until next time.
A lot of fun, man. Appreciate it, Sky.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. Thank you so much, man.